In this live video, we are going to be working on turning on our lights for one thing. There we go. It's like it's unbalanced. Why is it unbalanced? So we're going to be working on some splatters today because I found these envelopes that I coffee stained, and while I like them, this one is okay. I think they need a little bit more pizzazz because this takes, it's like the eye just automatically glows here. So we're going to work on some of those. But then I also found this coffee dyed notebook that we're going to use in the back of, or in the front of. And while some of the pages are really cool, like I love this because it's all, but some of these are a little sad. So we're going to make them happy. And by doing that, we're going to do gold splatters. We're going to do maybe some white or black, or I don't know what we're going to do. I think actually what we might do, if I can find the paint, here it is maybe we'll do some of the purple that we paint, the purple gray that we painted on the inside. Maybe we'll do some of those splatters. So I'm going to show you how I go through this process, and mixing up the splatter paint and using different consistencies of paint, because this is really thick and it's a chalk-based paint, so it's going to splatter differently than, say, an acrylic paint or a watercolor or even alcohol ink. You can use the alcohol ink for sure. In fact, let's do that. Let's do some alcohol ink. Let's do this stuff, and I've already got gold splatter mixed up, so we can do that too. And I can show you the consistency that we're going to be looking for, and I'll use different brushes so you can learn how to do this with what you have at home. You don't have to go out and buy special materials. Let me move my coffee so I can pull my shelf out here. So I've got, this is metallic black splatters. That's not it. 1, 2, 3, not it. Well, I think I moved it over to the other table. Let me go see. Let's see. There it is. Oopa, I'm knocking stuff over. So, because I use these colors a lot, I mixed them up in a big container. There we go. And let me grab the little containers I have already going. And I think we should be okay with just this on there. It's already got paint all over it, so let's start with the envelopes. So let's do, I don't think this has a front or a back. Oh yeah, it does. You can kind of see the adhesive. So this is the front of it. And I'm going to do 2 at a time, like this. So that way, oh, I might be able to do 3. No, we'll just stick with 2. So we're going to do it this way. So I mix them up in a big container, and that, because I use it a lot. So we've got silver splatter, white splatter already mixed up. This is the gold splatter I have already mixed up. I just mixed it right in the container because it was easier, because there was not much left of paint in here. And so I added more golds, and I added a little bit of bronze. So I kind of made my own custom thing. Now, you don't have to use paint. You can use coffee. You can use tea. You can use any kind of eco dye, really. And let's bring out, most people have, this is about a 1-inch brush. If you don't have one, you can go Dollar Tree and get the cheap brushes, because that's usually what I do. But I have a bunch of these fancy fan brushes. So I washed them last night, so they're a little stiff. I just kind of rub them in my fingers. Let's see. The other fun thing, if I can find one, yes. This has ink on it, but that's okay. We'll work with it. We're just going to pull out a bunch of different brushes here. I know I have more brushes. Where did they go? They should be over here. Here they are. Ha ha ha. See, I knew I had more brushes. Oh, I'm moving stuff around, and of course I rip paper because that's what I do. So, this is supposed to have chip brushes in there. There they are. They were hiding. There we go. Oh, there's one right there. Okay. It was in my bin. I thought I had one in my bin. Okay, so I've got, this is a stenciling brush. I got these at Walmart. This is just a chip brush. Got it at Harbor Freight. And toothbrush. It has some ink on it that's wanting to come off. So I'm going to just spray this down with some rubbing alcohol and use my towel to clean it. So let's do that real quick so we can get that out of the way. So I'm just spraying it down with some rubbing alcohol, and we'll just scrub that off. It's probably distressed ink. That's why it comes off really easily. Even regular paint, you just soak it in vinegar and water. 1 part vinegar to 2 parts water. Hot water. Let it sit till it cools, and then most of the stuff comes off. Okay, so we got a variety of brushes here, and we will investigate. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way so we don't get overspray, because it will happen. I just have parchment down. This is my art desk. It gets spattered all the time. So let's start with consistency. Now I got the hiccups again. I get so excited sometimes. Okay, I'm going to grab a little pot. And you can use a Dixie cup. You can use an old baby food container, you know, like those little, I think they still come in little Gladware containers, don't they? I don't know. My baby is 22 years old, so I just know they used to come in Gladware-like containers. Let's get, I'm going to get a bigger pot. So I have these that I got from a thrift store. I would not use them for food, but paint, they would be just fine. The reason why I wouldn't use them for food is because I don't know the original source, and I don't know if there was anything ever stored in them. So I need to get distilled water because I'm almost out. This might be the last of it. So what you want to do, I'm going to put that down on the floor because it's big. Oh my goodness. So what you want to do is take the cover off. And this is a good way to use up kind of the gunky chunks on the top. I need a rag to cover my lap. There we go. Because I have a tendency to wipe paint on my pants, and I don't always like to do that. So use the chunky bits up on top, clean them off, and then always stir your paint, even if it's acrylic, because sometimes the binders do separate. If it's craft paints especially, always shake or stir your paint. I prefer to stir because that way I can see what is going on with it, you know. You can even use house paint. If you've got leftover paint from painting a room, you can mix that up. You do you, boo. Whatever you got, use it. And you don't need much. I'm just trying to get all of this mixed up. And we're going to fill about 2 tablespoons, so that'll be about the bottom of this container. There we go. And I'm going to wipe that off, but I'm going to put the stick in there, and we're going to put the lid back on here. There we go. There we go. And we're going to put about 2 parts water, so another 4 tablespoons of water, and we're going to see, because this is really thick. Now, if you're working with acrylic paint, you probably, like craft paint, you probably want to do like half a part. So if you do a tablespoon of water, you're going to do a half a tablespoon, which I do believe is a teaspoon and a half of water. Because you can add up to 20 for regular paint, like regular acrylic paint, like Golden, Liquitex, those kind of paints. They have a higher binder content. That's why they're more expensive and more pigment. They use better quality binder, better quality products. You can add, I do believe it's 20% water or other medium before you start interfering with the binders. So we basically want to break the binder, but not break it too much, because if we break it too much, then we just end up with pools of tinted water. So we're going to see how well tinted this clay paint is. We're going to give it a good stir. I never did clean out my paint pot. I'm losing my brain some days. I need a structured schedule. My schedule lately has just been all over the place because things are not going as planned. I've been doing some experiments in the kitchen, and one of my pieces of equipment that I got is not calibrated correctly, so I'm finding alternatives. And there we go. So let's wipe the thumb off. I'm going to put this right here on the silver one because we're not going to be using the silver. Now I'm going to use this fan brush. Wait, let's use this brush. Okay, I'm going to set this to the side, put this back down. There we go. Oh, see, we got it all over already. So let's take this and just kind of clean it up. There we go. That looks cool, actually. Yep, I like it. See? Use your paper to clean up your mess. Now, I start with a dry brush. You can start with a wet brush. And we're just going to see how this works. And you don't want it super soaking wet, but you do want it loaded. And then I just tap my brush on my hand. And you can tap the brush. There we go. I like it. I like it. I do. Okay. I'm going to bring out the hair dryer here, and we are going to dry these off. Be back in a moment. Okay. So they're not perfectly dry, but they're dry enough where, like, that one's not completely dry, and that one, but I'm not worried about it. I'm not gonna freak my freak. Okay, so this is a combination of the Deco Art Macarona, really, it's not Banana Tish. Americana Decor Metallics. This is my favorite paint line for metallics. Other than golden fluid, but not everybody can afford golden fluid. And these you can get at Michael's, and this stuff is amazing. I use it for a lot of different things. So all I did, let's see if we can get this open. There we go. All I did was, there was about a quarter of a pot left. So just like up to the bottom of the skew, if you're looking at your pot, left of paint. So I added about that same amount, 1 to 1, and then I started adding golden fluid acrylics to it, and just putting in bronze and antique gold and a little bit of silver. So I have all these different metallics coming in it, and I got this beautiful kind of antique gold kind of color. So this is a great way to use up like the bottom quarter of your pot, whether it's in a, a craft paint pot or whatever. Just add a little water to it and use it for splatters, use it for washes, use it for dry brushing. So let me grab a stir stick here and let me show you the consistency. So it's almost like water. Let me get some of these bubbles off. And if you're familiar with acrylic pouring, I have this thing that I call trace, and it is not a thing that I made up. It is actually from soap making, and I am a soap maker as well. I haven't made a batch of soap in a long time. I probably will once it gets cooler, because that's an outdoor project in this house or a garage project. I don't want to get lye on the nice tile floors. So, but trace is, oh, there's a chunk in here. Let's get this bad guy out. You come out of there. There we go. Put him in the bin, garbage bin. There we go. Get the paint off our fingers now. That must have came off the lid. So trace is when you pick up some of your medium. Yeah, this is all coming off the lid. It won't matter because we're not actually painting with this. So we won't get dry chunks in it, mostly. So trace, let's try this again. ADHD, thank you. Trace is when you pick up some of your medium and you pour it across. A trace of 1 is when the ribbon that you've just poured into your pot again, 1, and it disappears. When you count to 1 and it's already back to the surface, back even with the surface. A trace of 5 would be 5 seconds before it flattens out into the surface. This is like a trace of 0 because it goes immediately back in, but it's not -1. -1 means that it makes a divot or a hole when it goes in. Means that the paint and the water, it's too watered down. The water sinks right, it makes it sink right away. So this is perfect. I do, for splatters, I do a 0 to 1. So if it's like 1 second and it falls back in, you're good. That way you're not, if you have too much water, just add a little bit more paint, even if it's not the same color. Find one that's in the same color family, and just add, like if you're working with, ounces or whatever, add like 1/4 of an ounce. If you're working in grams, I would add probably 10 grams, which should probably be about 10 to 20 drops, depending on how much, how dense your paint is, how thick your paint is. If you're working with craft paint, again, I suggest starting with like 1 part craft paint to a 1/4 part water, because some craft paints are actually pretty thick, but some it's like thinner than water, and I don't know how that's possible, but this is perfect consistency for splatters. Until I got to this point, I was using the lid and then watering it down a little bit on the lid. So if you don't get it perfect consistency, or you make a big pot like this and it's starting to get thicker because water evaporates, even in a sealed container, it still finds its way out. Take a little bit from here and mix it on your lid, and then just put it back in there, and then as you go, but just make sure you wipe your edges off before you do that. Okay, let's put this stick down before I hurt myself. And I'm going to use this is a fan brush. It has little notches cut out of it. I do have another fan brush that is just a regular fan brush, and you can use that as well. I just happen to like this one because it's fun, and you use it to paint grass. So I load it up, and then, whoop, that was a big droplet. And just tap. And tap, 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 tap. And what I'm going to do with this guy, because he's too big for my liking. Do I have a paper towel handy? Yes, I do. He's got stuff on him, but that's okay. Let's put that right there. And we're just going to take this and boop it. Boop it again. And just kind of keep taking some of that paint off. I'm not trying to remove the paint. Like, you know, I'm just putting my finger on, pressing down. There we go. So now it looks like a paint splatter, but it's not going to take 14 years for it to dry. Not that it would take 14 years for it to dry anyway, but you know what I mean. And let's get this one. And we're just going to tap the brush. And this, if you notice, this gives, for the most part, other than a few major splatters, it gives a more fine paint splatter. I'm going to put the lid on there loosely so I can put my brush on there. And then these ones I'm just going to let dry naturally. So I'm going to move them over to the floor. All right. Let's move these over. And my floor is going to be covered in paper, but that's okay. As long as I can get out. So now we've got the purple, we've got the gold. Let's do some purple on these, and then we'll pick out which ones. Because my thinking is, what I'm thinking of doing is, since we're going to be sewing these in, I might just pick out, that's the side, so I might just put these in so they stitch right here, and then fold them back, and then they should be able to fold in, and then just cut this remaining piece off. So we'll go through that tomorrow when we assemble this beautiful thing. So tomorrow is going to be a glorious day. It's a journal building day. So I'm going to take the same brush, and I'm going to put less paint on it this time, because you can do different splatters. Like that. So that's more of a flick of the wrist. Like, I think of Hermione in Harry Potter. Swish and flick. You don't do the swish, you just do the flick, okay? And I'm not going to dry this. I'm just going to let it be there. And this is mostly white paint. Like, I don't know if it's, I don't remember if it's gesso or what exactly it is. I just know there's paint in here. And you can see I had the press and seal on there, but it's really thick again. And we're getting a thicker trace than what we want. It's not sinking back in. That's like a trace of 3 or 4. And I know white's really hard to see. That's why when I was doing acrylic pouring, I always tried to pick the most vibrant colors I could. Not because I liked them, but because they showed up well on camera. So let's try getting this. Sometimes this lid doesn't want to come off. There we go. So I'm going to give this a really, really good shake, and I will be right back. I'm going to grab a sip of water. Okay, now I'm just going to take my whitewash, which is it's probably a combination of gesso and the white flow acrylic, because I have so many bottles of it left, and I do want to get back into acrylic pouring once it cools off and I can do it down in the garage, because it is too messy to do up here in the studio where I have fabric and expensive tools. I have expensive tools in the garage too, but okay, we're still pretty thick, so I'm going to take some water. I've got water in a spray bottle. That's why this bottle is blue. There we go. We're going to mix that in. And this time, we're going to use a toothbrush. And this gets messy. Just warning you, because you use your thumb. If you don't like getting paint on your hands, then put gloves on. And they can just be the regular plastic disposable ones you can get at Dollar Tree. They don't have to be anything fancy. I am allergic to latex, so that's why I get the fancier gloves. I get the nitrile gloves, which are very expensive, except for I found a pair or box on Amazon this last week that were on special. So I'm going to try them out, and if they work really well, I am going to let you know. So we dip a little in there, we take our thumb, like I said, it's a little messy, so my thumb is all dirty. I've got a few white splatters on my arm, but you know, it's fun. And this is something fun to do with kids because they get to get messy and you don't get mad at them. So, but it gives you a bunch of little ones, little splatters, but then at the end it like drips off your thumb sometimes, like that did. And so you get these cool things, and they are kind of directional, but I still like it. It's still fun. All right, let's wipe off the thumb and grab our gold. And we're just going to do all of these all at once. And if they combine, they combine. So I'm just going to put some gold splatters on top, because I want to get to the papers, because I want to show you what else you can do with splattered papers. There we go. So that is done. Put the lid back on it so I can put my brush on it. Come on, work with me. There you go. All right, so these two are done. And I'm going to very carefully transport these because there is some puddles of paint, but you can see that it adds more interest to what it was. And I'm going to leave the insides blank just for the simple fact that I want this to be like a journaling space or a pocket or whatever. I'm going to bring these over here on the floor. I need to sweep my floor. There's little bits of paper everywhere. But you know what? That's the cost of doing business. Okay, now for these pages, we're going to do kind of a turbo mode. We're going to lay them down like so. Like I want, let's see, I think if we put just some tape behind it, it'll help it lay down, which will help with the splattering. And yes, I'm probably going to get splatters on the other side, which is fine. There we go. Okay. And then this one can go here. Trying to find another one that has two pages that are kind of meh. Okay, so that one's okay. There we go. The other thing we could do is just fold them in half and lay them flat like this. So we'll do that probably on the next round. I want to get these other ones that are 2 pages, I want to get them done more quickly. And the easiest way to do that is to lay them out flat, so they take up the most room. So I'm just going to put this bottle right there and a piece of tape behind it. Tape isn't going to stick to the parchment real well for a long period of time, so I'm trying to hurry. All right, let's do this. Okay, really? Oh, that's why. You came unfolded. Why did you do that for? Let's get another piece of tape. Excuse me. There we go. So we've got our paper laid out. So we can just kind of go and splatter, splatter, splatter. And I'm only going to do the one side. Let's move these brushes out of the way. There we go. Now you don't have to do 3 colors. I just kind of like to do a variety of things. There we go. I'm going to put that right back in there. I think we'll just do purple and white on these. And some more white. Okay, wipe my thumb off. I'm going to come in and correct a couple of these. There we go. All right, let's move these over to the floor. Take this one and this one. Excuse me. And I'm going to try and keep them in order, so when we come back to them to do our fun stuff, we know which ones should be mostly dry. There we go. I'm going to grab a sip of water while I'm at it. Okay, that was 4 pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So how many do we have? 2. So we're going to take 2 of these off. Put them aside. Okay, whatever that was. Oh, it was a cup. So let's see, I might have to pull them back. There's 5, 6, so we're going to do 20 sheets, which will be 60 pages. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So this one doesn't need, I'm going to re-examine some of these. This one doesn't need spatters at all. This one just needs this side, so we're going to line this up, lay it down. This one, and this one. This one's pretty good. That's got enough. You know, this one's pretty good too. So we'll leave this one alone. This one needs some love. This one's pretty good. So we got 5. Or I'm going to go for 5, nothing, you know, blank. Yeah, this one needs to get balanced out. I feel like this one's good. So we've got 5. How do these look? Yeah, we'll splatter all these. Yeah, because this one needs to be like kind of realigned. So I'm just folding these so they are a little bit easier to handle. So 1, 2, 3. So One, two, three, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. No, I want it this way. Okay. Now that we have these sorted out, I didn't really pay attention to the other ones, but we'll figure it out when we get there. So let's see. Let's put this over here so it's out of the way. And then we're going to lay these ones flat, or try to. Flat-ish. Yeah, I'm going to grab some paper to put there. This will work. Just so I don't get it all over, and I can still put this down. There we go. Excuse me. There we go. And we're gonna do these 3 with all 3 colors. Let's make this stick so we can get up in the corner. This is flying up all over. It's all over my hand, but you know what? We're gonna rock it. Oop, I just spilled my white paint. It's all right. Don't cry over spilled paint. Okay. Do one more down here. I forgot to put my towel on my lap. Hopefully I didn't get any paint on these pants. I'm trying to keep my pants from getting paint on them. All right. Wiping off my thumb, bringing out the gold. Just went all gangbusters in there. There we go. There we go. I'll remove these. I'm trying to keep them as flat as possible. The ones that I know have the kind of globs of paint. Move this envelope. So we have 9 pages done. Only 11 more to go. Actually, technically, I think we have 10 more to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line these up. There we go. Oh, there's one left. Do I have room? No. All right. It's all right. We're going to make it work. In fact, let's take this one off because that one was really hard last time to get in the corner there. Let's move this way. This way. Let's put that way. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to do purple and gold. I got a little bit of gold paint in there. It's okay, we just mix it in. Put that over there. There we go. So let's do gold first. I'm going to come back and correct this one and maybe a few others. There we go. Let's do this one again. There we go. Try and find a dry spot on this towel. The only reason why I'm correcting some of these is not because I don't like the shape or anything. It's just there's a big glob of paint and I want it to dry fairly quickly. Because this evening I will stitch the signatures together. And sometimes they don't dry fast enough. And they're still a little wet when I go to pick them up, even after a couple of, like 6-7 hours. Because it's so thick paint. There we go. We're just kind of spreading the paint around. We're spreading the love. Okay, now let's go in with the purple. And we're just gonna little bit more here. And yes, I'm getting purple all over my desk. It's okay. I love purple. There we go. Now we'll fill in with a little bit of white. Stir this in. There we go. Because we got a little bit of color in our white, but you know what? We're not going to worry about it. And we're just going to get messy. Do it right in the middle. There we go. I think that's going to end up in the seam, but it's okay. We know it's there, right? I think we need a little bit there, a little bit right here, and a little bit over here, and some right here. There we go. Again, it's a messy job, but someone's got to do it. And I am going to come in and correct a couple of these splotches with, this is just a rag that had coffee stain on it, and I'll probably end up using it as a fabric. So I'm just going to lift some of that white up. And right here. Kind of spread it out a little bit. Let's try that one again. There we go. And this guy right here needs to be flattened out. That's what all I'm really doing, is just kind of flattening them out so they dry faster. Okay. Now, let's put these down and get the last two splattered. 8 maybe. So I'm putting these on the floor. Maybe. There we go. Let's grab it here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Perfect. And then we have 5 pages that don't have splatter on them. So not all the pages will have splatter. It'll just be kind of intermixed. All right. Before we put the other pages down, there we go. Ta-da! I felt like a ta-da was necessary. Sometimes a ta-da is necessary. Sometimes you just gotta ta-da your way through the day. Anytime you do something, even if it's just brushing your teeth, saying ta-da makes it feels so much more like you accomplished something. There we go. Words are hard. Excuse me. I need a drink of water, but we're gonna lay these down first. I'm gonna do one this way and one this way. That way the splatters go different directions. Excuse me one moment. Okay, let's do the white first this time. I'm going to put lots of white down because we can't. I want to use up all the paint that's on this. Brush. So I'm going to put it in my bucket, but I need to put water in there. Okay. And then we're just going to do bigger blobs. So you can see you can get a whole variety of different size drips just by how you tap it, how you hold it. And that's kind of what I wanted to illustrate today. Put that in there, put the lid on this. Whoop. Roly, roly, roly. All right, we're gonna wipe this edge off. We're gonna take this rag here. I think it'd look really cool as part of a collage. So we're gonna do this edge. So we're gonna wipe the edge off. And the cool thing, these are containers that used to have cat food in them. I wash them with soap and water and then put them in the dishwasher to sanitize them. So there is no chance of kitty food still inside them. And then, but they work great. So if you have a kitty, and they're kind of picky, they might like this because Rhea is very finicky. It's the Rachel Ray Nutriche, I think it's called. I noticed she's getting a little plump, so I stopped giving it to her, but I think I might start again because she loves it so much. And why not? I mean, kitties are only with us for a few years in the scheme of things. Might as well make every day here their happiest day, you know? All right, got that cleaned up. Now let's go in with the gold. And these I'm going to try and keep relatively light. And you're going to notice by layering them different every time, you're going to get a different effect on how they meld. You might get cells, so if you have that cell thing where cells are not kosher, there we go. Looks like a tadpole. Then you might want to dry between layers because there is a possibility of cells happening. And if you don't know what I mean by cells, let me know in the comments. And I can go through and give you a more descriptive thing. There we go. I just wanted light gold in there. That goes in the bin. And then the lid is over here. And then very quick before we wrap this up, the other page should be dry. Actually, I'm going to keep this gold out, but I am going to get a sponge brush. So, but we're going to give it a shake again. I'm going to move these over. There we go. We'll bring these over. These are dry. And so on these pages, and maybe a couple of those other pages that don't have splatters on them, we're going to take a stamp. I had the stamp. Here it is. Oy. And I need a sponge brush. And we're going to give this a shake. And while I'm shaking this up, I'm going to get a sip of water. Okay, put the towel back on my lap. Grab my other towel for my fingers. And we're just going to paint some paint on here. And I'm going to use the same gold so it's kind of color coordinated. And I'm just going to use the lid. Oop. Okay, hands. So you don't need much. But there wasn't enough on the lid, so we're just going to do a quick brush because this will dry really fast. I'm not going to worry about it getting in, if it gets in the voids. I'm not going to worry about it. You can if you want. I just want to get a nice even coat. I had some on my thumb and I got it on the paper. But that's okay because we're just going to stamp right over that. We're going to put it like that. I'm just going to stamp it down and lift it up. There we go. So you have a little decoration on there, just to make it interesting. And I think put these back over here. See if any of those are dry yet. Nope. So I think what we'll do is put the same thing on all of these. This one, I'm going to put this one on the center. We'll put it right there. Okay. Just to give all the pages a little love. All right, we're going to do this again. There we go. Let's put them up there. This is an art foamy stamp. I think you can find, I think the website is just artfoamies.com. They have a lot of different designers. Robin McClendon is one of them. She's the one that designed some art foamies. And I want it right about there. There we go. We'll put these up there. They're out of the way and they can dry. And then this one, we're just going to put it like right here. So take a little paint. There we go. And put it right there. Didn't turn out perfect, but we don't look for perfection. And I've got a piece of scrap paper here. I'm going to offload this stamp. So I'm going to do multiple stamps with this. Just try and get as much of the paint off as I can. Let's bring it over here. I'm pushing fairly hard. There we go. Shebang. Oh, we probably got one more good print on there. Let's do it right here. I'm going to get as much of it out as I can. Excuse me. Normally I try and mute my microphone for those. I am giving it CPR, just not with the... There we go. All right, now move this out of the way and this out of the way. This is going to be collage fodder. We can even use this in a flip book, you know, flip-flop journal. So I'm going to put my sponge brush in there, put the lid back on this, and then I'm just going to take some water and spray this real good. So let's sit a minute, and I'm going to grab this paper again. And we'll do another impression. And this is just how I clean this off, so I don't want to ruin the foam, so I don't want to rub it. But I do want to get as much of the paint off as I can. So I'm just going in and spraying. I'm going to put it on, tap it on my rag so I get some of that big water out, and then I'll just smush it. And this paper is really absorbent. This is just newsprint. There we go. Now I'll go in and pat it with a towel. Let's move this out of the way, because I will end up wearing it. Now I got the hiccups again. Joy of choice. So I'm just patting it, and then when I get to a centerpiece where there's a little bit of buildup of paint, I'll just kind of wiggle my finger. And I'm just gonna let it dry. The remaining paint on there is not gonna hurt anything. Let's do it one more time. just to make sure. Yeah, the water is clear for the most part. It's glittery. You know what's kind of cool is if you let it dry a little bit, and then you take some black ink. In fact, let's do it because we can. There's another piece of paper that we can use. Yeah, let's do it here. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you have to use archival because it doesn't react with the water or another solvent-based ink. And we ink it up really well. I thought there was a hair on there. We're just going to put this right in the center of this. And we're going to press it down really well. This is how I do my art papers though. I make a whole bunch of them and then I'll go, like when I'm just got random stamps, I'll be like, oh, this one could use a stamp, and then I'll stamp it. And eventually it'll end up in a journal or collage fodder or something. So now, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but now there's gold flecks in the black ink. I hope the camera will pick that up so you can see. It's pretty cool. So it does work. You just try it. What have you got to lose? 5 minutes of your time to do something really cool? Okay. So let's make sure everything's covered. This needs to dry. Everything else needs to dry. So we will be back tomorrow. If you're catching this on the replay, it'll be next in the playlist. And we're going to put this journal together. So go out, create something awesome. And remember, be kind to one another. Peace, love, and happiness.